Hi everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the AI Best Business Show. Today with me I have Ahmad Yusri. He's the founder and CEO of Rabbit, a startup I'm really interested in. Uh, I personally call it it's one of the biggest startups I see in the MENA region and Middle East in the next coming 5-10 years. Ahmad, welcome to the pod.
You're too kind. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Ahmad, you are doing some research and looking at your early career. You started at Vodafone, Uber, Otlub, and now you founded Rabbit. In a quick 2-3 minutes, if you could take me through your career, each step, with the main lessons that you took out of each career that helped you come to Rabbit.
Uh, I'm originally an engineer. I started my career as a electronics communication engineer. My first job was actually a software developer, a job I was not ready for. I accepted the job. It was through a friend's referral. I spent a year with that. And then I did my second job was marketing, another job I was not ready for. I did 9 years of that with Vodafone in Egypt, and then I spent 2.5 years doing consultancy across South Europe, Africa, and Asia. Then I came back to the region as head of marketing for Uber, Egypt for the rides business. Then moved to Dubai to lead the Eats business for marketing across Egypt, Saudi, and UAE. And then finally came back to Egypt as the GM for the food business. I then was part of shutting down the business as part of Uber scaling down of the Eats business. Spent a couple of months doing absolutely nothing. Joined Otlob on a short-term assignment, and then with a group of friends, decided that we wanted to disrupt retail and how people shop every day, and we started Rabbit. The learning I got through the experience is uh, you have to be open to new experiences. I never was a software developer. I learned on the job. I never was a marketeer. I learned on the job. I never was a proper consultant. I learned on the job. I learned growth marketing and food delivery business on the job. And every single day here at Rabbit, I learn new things. So I think the biggest, most important thing is never say no. As simple as that.
When you were at Uber and you worked with Uber Eats, what did you see? What did you see with your work at Uber that you noticed that, okay, there's an opportunity in the market to go do something similar to Uber Eats?
To be extremely honest, this is not what I had in mind. I had no grand plan or vision of becoming an entrepreneur or starting my own company. But I think the biggest lesson I learned from Uber is um, my ceiling, my glass ceiling of what is the expectation from every single individual and what they can actually do got massively shattered. Working with a huge multinational like Vodafone and seeing them operate in multiple countries and being involved in transformational projects from South Korea to Nigeria, I could see that the normal time for a company to do a big change was 3 to 6 months, maybe a year. But at Uber, what I learned was no, you can do things in days, weeks. So this was the biggest thing. And a lot of the things that Uber was as well is we're trying to solve problems and we're trying to make changes to things that when going into it, we have no idea how to do, but we have extreme confidence that we will know how to get it done, which is a very different approach from corpus as well. So when I was jobless and not knowing what to do, I had a conversation with a couple of friends around some of the challenges that we face across our day-to-day experiences. And the biggest change in mentality was, had I not gone to Uber, I would have said, these are challenges in the market, somebody else is going to solve it. And after the Uber experience, the first instinct I got was, let's solve it. So I think that's the biggest change in mentality and mindset that I got from Uber, which is
It's
anything is solvable.
it's very interesting. I'm reading a book called The Cold Start Problem. I forgot the name of the author, but at the beginning he mentions the Uber environment and how they started in San Francisco and in LA in New York, and how the meetings would be inside the offices. Quick meetings, quick changes, quick figuring out what to do next, how to solve a certain problem. And so I think startups here more in the US are different from the MENA region in terms they act, they're fast, and the learning you get from them helps you be more advanced. And I'm speaking in the region when you get this experience from outside and get it in.
I think it's just a matter of perspective. So I think like startups in the US has a very nice advantage of maturity. They've seen a lot. They've seen a lot of companies build, succeed, companies that do not succeed, that spawn off people that start building other things, or second time founders or third time founders. So the biggest thing they have as an advantage of is their expectation, their hopes, their belief on what is actually possible is huge. So uh, talk to anybody in the world. I'm going to Mars. I'm going to build a rocket company. I'm going to build an company. I'm going to build an electric company. These are things that people think about, and it's not an ingenious idea. A lot of people would have thought that this is a business and a viable business, but they don't know what's the first step to do that. And to be honest, they don't have the intrinsic belief that this is something that is actually possible within our lifetime. So I think this is the biggest intrinsic thing that the US has an advantage on. And with this, with companies like Uber and other amazing companies as well, what they've done is Kareem, for example, so all of these companies and Ghani, they've done something which is unprecedented, which is give people the belief that you can actually create these things. It's not a matter if you identify a problem. There's a framework of extreme hard work, grit, smart people, and hustle that you have to put every single day. And there is a real chance for you to turn these problems and have solutions for them. So I think that's the biggest thing. And with the current companies that we're seeing into the market, amazing companies that exist around MENA, you're starting to see that. You start to see the Kareem Mafia start to spawn. You start to see the Anghani Mafia, the Swivel Mafia. There are always going to be companies out there that, because they challenge the status quo, they started to give people more belief that they can actually do it. You'll start to see more and more of these results. So I'm very optimistic that in the very near future, that advantage that the US has will start to rub off on every one of us.
I agree. I agree. I'm a big believer in the MENA region, GCC, Africa, all the region. I'm a big believer, and this is why I chose my podcast to be focused on the region specifically to get to learn more and like meet founders in the region. Ahmed, I want to speak about the general. Where's the last mile delivery now? Just the general picture. Where are we at, and where could we be in the next 10 years?
It's a very, very good question. Where are we today? I think the last mile delivery is predominantly a next day, 2 day delivery kind of business. There's a few exceptions when it comes to fast food delivery, where it's more in the 1 hour delivery range. And this is where the reality is. Where in 10 years' time, I'm 100% sure with if you look at the evolution of how music, entertainment, ride hailing has evolved, people demand more and more instant experiences. A couple of years back, it wasn't possible on music. Now it is. It wasn't possible on video. Now every single day there's a new streaming giant that pops up. It wasn't possible on real-time matching between digital and real-life world, and Uber cracked that puzzle. So I'm guessing in the next 10 years' time, what's going to happen is people are going to be used to instant experiences. So instant, near real-time last mile delivery is going to be the norm of deliveries. And this is what keeps me going every single day, because I know in 10 years' time, there's going to be a Facebook and there's going to be a MySpace. And we're hoping to make sure that Rabbit becomes the Facebook of instant retail and last mile delivery.
You speak about a question I wanted to ask, and you mentioned it. Do people really need fast delivery? Like, isn't it fun to go down to shop yourself? Do really like, is it a necessity we need in our daily lives?
I don't think the need is the biggest word. I don't think people need anything, but people want things. Nobody needs access to all of the streaming services. Nobody needs a movie that's a click away. Nobody needs the ability to order a pizza and get it delivered in 30 minutes. There's no need intrinsically for you to want things faster. There's no need for you to click an Uber and get it in 30 seconds or a minute. But once you actually try it, you want it. It's a very different verb, but it's still the same. Nobody needs things delivered fast. But if you could, you would, 9 times out of 10. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a 10 out of 10, because as you said, there's a very good experience when you go out and you shop and you start to feel fabrics and you start to see how different produce smell like and these kinds of things. But these are more this will become less and less about the day to day, and it become more experiential shopping. And the more time you save, the better for the customer. And I think this will change a lot in how people shop in the future. And it's never going to be something that people need instantly. I don't think so, but I think it's something that customers more and more want because life is getting more and more busy. You have a lot more that you need to do. You have the same 24 hours that haven't increased in eternity, but the to-do list continues to exponentially grow. So the only way for you to continue to hash things out, to get things done, is to become more and more efficient with how you use your work and how you use your time. And that's the reason why the need is never going to be there, but the want will continue to increase.
And I love this answer. Uh,
I don't,
when
I don't think, and I don't want to live in a world where people need ice cream delivered in 10
okay,
minutes,
okay,
but people will always want ice cream delivered in 10 minutes. It's a very
right.
different thing.
That's it. Okay. No, and it's interesting how you s- make fast delivery similar to Netflix and Disney, and which is true. Before when we wanted to watch a movie, we would go down to the theater. Now we're like, okay, I'm gonna turn off my TV and I'm gonna find something on Netflix or Disney Plus or
You still
HBO
have
to watch.
you still have the opportunity to buy movies, right?
Right.
You can rent movies and you can buy movies. What's the percentage of movies you actually stream versus you buy? I'm gonna go on a limb and say majority would go to stream because of the convenience,
Right.
each selection there. So customers would always revert to what is the best available instant experience versus what I really want. And it's never gonna be a need. Nobody needs to watch a movie instantly, but people will always pick the availability and the convenience part. So I think this is human nature, and it's going to continue to go ahead. And I'm betting you in 10 years' time, nobody's going to understand the idea of you buy something, you buy an iPhone, or you buy a T-shirt, or you buy a new TV or a PlayStation 10, and you get it in next day delivery. Nobody's going to understand that.
Right. And I agree. I mean, I love Egyptian series and Egyptian movies, and I don't live in Egypt, so when an Egyptian movies goes out to the theater, I can't watch it. But recently, when Shahid started and Watch It started, I can now watch whatever series or movies I want, and they'll come up instantly instead of me waiting and going down to the movie to watch it. So,
You don't need it instantly, but you want it. You want it.
yes, exactly. When you sat with Salah, Ismail, and Tariq at the beginning, uh, what gaps, and when you guys were sitting and thinking and brainstorming, what gaps did you guys see in the market uh, that told you, like, how did the discussion look like to see if there was, we should start Rabbit or not?
It was a very honest and humbling discussion. So one of the things we discussed was the day-to-day. No, so we come from very different experiences. Myself, I come from tech. Ismail comes from retail, traditional brick and mortar retail. Tariq comes from a pure financial experience. He's done FedEx, he's done PepsiCo, he's done Vodafone, so he understands finance. And Walid is, we call him our Mr. Ogwe. He's the wise tech uh, master that we all revert to. He understands how to simplify things into a tech world that makes a simple sense. So the four of us were discussing, and I was sharing a point of I came home one day and I opened the fridge and I found absolutely nothing that is edible except half a lemon. You know, when you use half a lemon and you just keep the other half for future use, which I don't know, never comes, I guess. And accordingly, I wanted to buy something to eat, and I've always struggled with losing weight. So I thought I'm gonna get a banana or get a salad. And the average time for that to get delivered would be an hour and a half, 2 hours. So accordingly, what I ended up doing is chose what is the fastest option, which turned out to be junk. And halfway through the burger, uh, the guilt hits you, and you start to question your life choices of this is what you want. You want to lose weight, but you end up ordering junk food because it fulfills my 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 need for instant food because I'm really hungry and I cannot wait for food to be delivered in a couple of hours. And then we started to have a wider conversation around that. It's not only the speed element of it. There's a big challenge on reliability. So even if you end up waiting for the couple of hours to order a banana or you order your groceries, there is a very big challenge that you get with reliability. You're not quite sure if what you're getting, what you order is what you get, because sometimes you order and a couple of maybe minutes later, or maybe 30, 40 minutes later, you get a notification that this and this and this and this and this doesn't exist. And here are
Right.
some replacements. So reliability is a challenge. And the second point is I have no idea when the order is going to come. So you can't plan your day. You can't plan, I'm going to cook at this point, and accordingly, this is what I'm going to expect my groceries, because you get a very wide window of delivery. So reliability becomes the second biggest problem, sorry. And the Tariq always thinks of it from a unit economics basis. He's a finance guy. He always thinks about the amount of overhead that goes through how these businesses are structured. So from a producer to a wholesaler to a mini wholesaler and the distributor and all of those relationships together until it reaches the final point of sale where a customer actually procures it, and the amount of margin, the amount of value lost in between the value chain and all of these challenges. And it's not only that on food quality and on food expiry dates, because the time it takes for short shelf life items, it's very
Right.
hard to get it from producer, manufacturer to consumer in time for them to consume it in a right way. And Walid digested all of that, and we started to build the foundation of what we think could be a service that you can get a shirt, you can get a tie, you can get a hijab, you can get a uh, groceries, you can get electronics, and you can get all of these things delivered in what we thought could be 30 minutes when we started, but through the amazing people that we got across the journey, they managed to convince us that we'll do it in 20. So we actually made it happen.
I- I'm gonna go into each part of what you spoke. Like I'm gonna take what you just spoke and we're gonna digest it little by little, so everyone
Let's
who's
do
listening is
it.
gonna understand what are you doing. Um, Before that, you kind of spoke what is rabbit in what in the definitions you just gave. Let's speak what is rabbit like. Like why did you choose to stay stealth first and then suddenly come out with an announcement that oh rabbit is here, and how did it start? Just like really briefly.
It started with that conversation. So the four of
Okay.
us sat
This
together and we started to think around what is the challenges, and then we took out a piece of paper and we started to draft what we think could be the future of retail. How would people uh, what is the customer's expectations? If the customer's expectation is, let's say, 30 minutes, we picked an arbitrary number. If currently you'll be able to procure a burger in, say, 30 minutes, doesn't make any sense for you that when you buy an iPhone, it's a ready-made boxed item,
right.
you get it delivered slower than a burger where the components need to be put together and need to be made. So we took the benchmark there and we started to see how can we reverse engineer what's happening on a burger side for you to be able to get the iPhone on the same uh, uh, experience or the same speed and the same
Okay.
reliability. So we started to build the fundamentals. What we think is three key platforms for us that I think makes all of that possible. One of them is our real-time stock tracking. One of the biggest things is we give customer complete visibility in what we can sell. So customers know that if you order something, it's gonna get delivered because it's there, it's on the shelf. If it's off the shelf, you're not gonna be able to order it. So that peace of mind and reliability solves one of the biggest things. And building that real-time stock tracking and live inventory system was uh, a big, interesting project and undertaking because there's a lot of stock movement, whether it's we're constantly getting new items into the store and constantly selling items out of the store and managing all of that experiences live makes a lot of difference. Second biggest piece is to be able to get to that customer. What the guys at the fast food chains is they've perfected the operation so much that they've taken the prep time of the food so short. So that was a big fundamental point for us. So we need to make sure that we run our fulfillment points or micro fulfillment centers that they're extremely efficient, that the time to get an order prepared should be measured in seconds.
Mm.
So we had worked a lot on how we automate and how we provide technologies in place and how our design philosophy goes in and how we design our microfilm centers so that actually it is gamified in a way and it's streamlined in a way and it's automated in a way that it gets an order out of the door in as short as 120 seconds. And then the final piece of the puzzle is Now we have a location that has live inventory and we know how to get items out of the store in 120 seconds. We need to get it to customers delivered in, say, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Or 30 minutes. And then when we started to build those things, all of those numbers started to go down. So actually it takes us now 60 seconds to get an order out of the door.
Wow.
And we reach customers in some like 6 minutes or 7 minutes to get the customer. So
Wow.
the promise of 20 minutes is very, very, very much what we thought was very improbable when we started the company became a reality every single day.
Wow. Okay. Let's start with this. Who are you partnering with? Like if I go on Rabbit, can I do food delivery or is it items that are not food delivery?
So currently what we do is we buy our own inventory.
Okay.
So we strike deals with as many manufacturers and producers as
Okay.
possible. So we cut all of the middlemen. So we buy directly from the source. So
Okay.
we reduce all of the overhead that the customer consume. And at the same time, and it takes us a near 2 days, 3 days from us from thinking of an item that we need to include to having it sold on our platform.
Wow.
And we've seen a
Actually,
lot of
so you're not going and partnering with supermarkets that are existing. You're going and partnering with the manufacturer.
Yes, we have our own for micro fulfillment centers.
Wow.
So we go with the manufacturer producer, we sign a deal, we take their inventory and we put it in our dark store. And there's a lot of times when once the item goes into our dark store, it gets sold before it gets on the shelf. So you get a lot of these because demand is we're very smart in matching supply and demand, so it gets us
Okay.
that bit of optimization there.
Okay. So basically, the customer is going on Rabbit isn't buying a brand; they're buying Rabbit items.
No,
Eh,
we
Okay.
still we sell we sell known brands. You'll find
Okay.
all of your brand of your CPGs are there, or your favorite bread, your favorite milk is going to find it there. So everything is third-party products, not our first-party product, but you get it through the app. So it's our dark store, our inventory. We buy it and then we resell it.
Okay.
Currently,
So
we
basically,
have
you're going to the manufacturer of the brand itself, and you're starting
this.
deal with them. Okay, that
Yes.
makes
So
sense.
for example, so currently what we do is we sell groceries, we sell basic fashion, we sell stationery, we sell basic electronics and electrical appliances, we sell household items, and we sell seasonal items. So during Christmas, we sold Christmas trees. During Ramadan, we sold Ramadan
Decoration, Hilal, and
decorations. Yes, decorations is the right word. During summer, we sold one of our best sellers was barbecue sets. So people
wow.
started to buy barbecuing tables and stuff like that. And currently, with back to school, our there's a huge spike when it comes to stationery and items like that. So we're trying as much as possible to understand what customers are looking for, and through our very solid and automated supply chain process, we find a manufacturer, we sign, we list, and we sell very quickly to customers.
And if I'm a customer, I just want to simplify this. If I'm a customer that I'm using Rabbit's app and I want to order, I'm going in, I look what's available on the app, ordering it, and it's getting delivered to me in 20 minutes. If I'm the manufacturer, what benefit do I get from working with Rabbit?
Uh, uh, we we give them a lot of insight into how it is being consumed with consumer. So one of the things that give us a very good advantage is we're a tech company, so we have data at the core of everything we do. So not only while partnering with Rabbit, you're able to reach a wider audience, but you have more control onto how you sell, how you market, and and understanding the consumption behavior of product. So you understand not only the buying patterns of your consumer, age, demographics, and all of those things. You understand if your product is consumed in the morning more or in the afternoon. You understand because the business is built on an ultra fast delivery, so it's not a product that people buy and hoard. It's a product people buy and consume. So all of those daily, weekly top-ups that customers do, we're able to understand exactly how your every manufacturer could improve and what are the different points of interest for them that can help them improve the product and grow their business. So we always think of it as a partnership where it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the manufacturer because they understand better and they have more control onto the product. It's a win for the customer because they get the best deal and it's a very reliable experience. And it's a win for us because we not only are we supporting our local brands and local manufacturing, but we are growing our customer base and trying as much as possible to keep the cost basis down for them.
Okay. And here's a tricky question. Why would I use why would I use Rabbit instead of using Good Smart or Appetito?
Uh, I think you should use all. I don't think you should use a single one.
Mhm.
We're in, again, we're not in a competition. What we're trying to do is we're trying to build that next wave.
Okay.
What makes Rabbit special is we're the only ones that deliver ultra fast. So it gives the
Okay.
customer the reliability and we give them the peace of mind that if you order something, it's going to show up on time every time. And we have very high availability. So very rarely do we get items out of stock because we have a uh, very well designed demand prediction model that gives us clear insights on what customers will want in the future. And accordingly, we'll be able to stock those items ahead of time so customers never find the problem there.
Okay. Um, who is your target customer? Are you targeting young people who have apps on their phone? Are you targeting mothers at the house that want to get their items delivered fast? Uh, who are you targeting?
It's a very good question because when we thought of building this product, we thought that we're building it for the young, hip, on the move, very busy, new parents or people living alone or people that are on the rush. But what we end up seeing in the data is we have a very high percentage of 50 plus year olds using the app just because of the convenience and the easiness of the shopping experience and because of the peace of mind while they still rely on their local corner shop store and their weekly or monthly visits to the supermarket, the ability and the peace of mind of them, it's a very easy ordering experience. You can pay on by credit card, so you don't need to have cash on hand, and you have 100% confidence that whatever you put into the basket and we've confirmed is going to show up at your doorstep in less than 20 minutes. That peace of mind and that reliability apparently means a lot to even 50-year-old plus. So when we started building this brand, we built it for a specific customer segment, but so far we've been very lucky and very successful in landing a much bigger audience as well to engage and use our product. And what one of my favorite messages I got was from a friend of mine that sent me a very big picture and a very long voice note telling me how her dad, who was a 60-year-old, is in love with Rabbit and he cannot think of life without Rabbit just because it made his life so much simpler because he cannot go down and shop anymore. And at the same time, the products that he needs on a day-to-day basis are not available at their corner shop, so they cannot rely on a phone ordering system. So it just made his life so much simpler. He feels more empowered and more in control because whatever he needs, he gets it. He doesn't need to rely on anybody else. He feels more independent. And she told me that it has helped him become more at ease with his in his current stage, and it gave me a lot of goosebumps to be honest that we're able to even make one customer slightly happier.
I love this story, and I started an e-commerce startup almost a year ago. It was a love book for couples. When I
Mm.
started it, my demographic was in my head, I'm gonna target people who are in their 18th till 30. I started selling. My first 10 orders are people in their 50s and 60s. I'm like, I never expected that. Like
Yeah.
even in my Facebook ads and my targeting, I'm targeting young people. And out of nowhere, I get my first 10 orders who are people in their 50s and 60s. A lesson, same thing happened with Rabbit. You see your demographic of target customers become bigger. When you're starting a startup, a lesson I would say to everyone who's listening to this, always go test the market. Don't assume your target customer.
Understand.
Go and test the market, and this is how you figure out your target customer and your demographic.
100%.
One thing I want to talk about is the paying cash versus paying online. Uh, because I still know a lot of people in the region in Egypt. they prefer paying cash, they prefer using cash. What's the data at Rabbit showing you?
It's a very good question. So currently we're seeing that digital adoption is definitely going up. On a week by week basis and a monthly basis, the cash component of our business is going down and our digital component of the business is going up. And the second biggest insight we've seen is customers that are new to the platform, they want to try us first. They try us first on the cash basis because they think they're just skeptical that we're going to be over promising and under delivering. So they start and testing the water first couple of orders on a cash basis, but then they very quickly, once they believe in the product and they understand that it's a product that makes their life so much better, they quickly transition into digital payments because it's much easier and much more seamless and contact free. So they can order even when they're not at home and somebody else can pick up the order. So this kind of a behavior we're seeing. So there's a digital adoption across the board, and at the same time, with customers getting more and more accustomed and comfortable with the product, they move and transition more towards digital payments.
Okay. And it's interesting because last week I had an show I had on the pod Ahmad Al Sabungi, and he's the founder of Buyut. And I never knew that in Egypt you have wallets connected through your through your mobile phone, and
Yeah,
with the telecommunication companies.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think this is one factor that makes people use digital more, because I know a lot of people don't have access to banks or have bank account, but having this digital wallet makes it easier. Is that true?
I think there's a lot of very interesting things happening lately that makes digital inclusion better, whether it is people that are unbanked getting into the banking system or the underbanked getting proper banking system. So both of them are helping. So you're seeing companies that are on the higher end of the spectrum that are giving better services versus banks to the banked customers, which we call underbanked. And there's a lot of services as well that are working on financial inclusion. And finally, there's a very big governmental program that is trying to include more people into banking and move more and more away from cash payments and to more into digital payments. And I think there's a lot of these things working together that just help that movement and confidence and ease towards digital payments.
I want to get done with the customer segment by asking this question. What are some, we spoke about the benefits of using Rabbit and customers being happy. What are some of the complaints you get from customers? What are some customer feedback you hear, that you're
Very
like, we're gonna make this better?
Very good question. So one of the toughest things for us to solve currently is fresh produce and ripeness. Getting food ripe is hard because if you look at a kiwi, for example, or sorry, an avocado, for example, an avocado is uh, uh, hard, edible hard.
Right.
So it's a very short win for us to get it right for customers. And same goes for every other banana sample. Some customers
Okay.
want to get bananas to consume today. Some customers want to get bananas to consume across the week. So it's for us getting that fresh produce ripeness right. The customer liking is one of the things that is operationally interesting to solve and technically interesting to solve as well. So we have a couple of things that we have to do as rabbits, which is on every month basis, you need to spend a day either delivering to customers or solving customer support tickets for you to always keep in touch with what the customer is doing. That's on top of the weekly catch up that we do as a full company in our own hands, where we go through every single customer feedback and see what collectively we can do. So all of these things help us understand and keep a pulse on what the customers really want, and accordingly we spend a lot of time obsessing about everything. We obsess about two things. We obsess about the times. Every single rabbit you meet will tell you that the entire business is measured in seconds, and we obsess about shaving 2 seconds pit stop. And the second thing we obsess about is customer feedback.
Okay. And love to hear that. And I meant to ask the feedback you get from customers, or what are some stuff customers don't like or complain about.
Politeness is one of them.
Right.
Politeness
And
of food is fruits and vegetables is one.
And I ask it because a lot of people think startups are, oh, wonderful. I'm gonna start my startup. It's gonna be amazing. And that's not true. You're gonna get customer like calling you and be like, oh, you don't get my delivery right. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you didn't that. So hearing to customer feedback and going out and solving this problem, this uh,
So I'll tell
this
you,
is the thing about startups.
some of the not straightforward challenges that we face. So one of the things that for us is a challenge is we're one of the first ones to introduce paying through a point of sale at the customer's doorstep. So rather than only having an option of a cash on delivery or an online payment, we provide you with a point of sale at your doorstep in case you're uncomfortable putting your credit card details online. And some of the challenges we face is around internet and connection within the customer's household. It's a challenge that we deal with
Right.
if we're unable to fulfill a transaction because there is no internet connection. Another challenge that we are dealing with currently is customers that expect us to deliver tens of bottles of water uh, under 20 minutes on the 15th floor with no elevator. So there's a lot of it's a custom. We have to fulfill a customer promise. So we're thinking, how can we do that? How can we deliver an order that is 15, 16, 17 kilograms of products and still be able to deliver it safely to the customer under 20 minutes? So there's a lot of very interesting challenges that happen there that are part of it we can solve today. So part of it we can't solve today, but we have that intrinsic belief that we will be able to solve it.
Okay. And when you spoke about that, I'm like, and why the reason I like speaking to startups in the MENA region or in Egypt, because if we compare Egypt to the US, uh, Egypt in terms of like transportation, technology, no elevator, no electricity, no Wi-Fi, is really different from the US. So when you're working in such challenges and when you're able to succeed in such challenges, I'm fascinated by that. So
One day,
I'm really
yesterday we had a last week we had an internet outage in one of the stores because there was maintenance on the road and they cut the internet line. Yesterday we had a 3 hour power outage in a store because there was maintenance in the area. And the team has amazing standby solutions for all these things. We move around generators and we have uh, access points, internet that just keep rotating between stores. So we build a lot of contingency in places for things that we have zero control of, but we have to deal with every single day.
fine. Let's we spoke about the customer, the pain with customers, the complaints, how you solve these. I want to go back to operations, something you spoke about at the beginning. How do you manage to do 20-minute delivery? Do you have a store in every single, and when we call it, I'm gonna get the right term, uh, in every single Harab Egypt, in every single place,
We'd love that.
are you buying lands everywhere? How are you managing being close to neighborhoods?
So again, as I told you, we're just not reinventing the wheel. We've just taken a leaf out of the fast food delivery companies and we've just adapted it to the modern age. So what we've done is we have a handful of dark stores or micro fulfillment centers in neighborhoods. And what we've managed to do is we've reduced our picking time very, very aggressively. So it takes us around 60 seconds to get an order outside the door. From the second you order to the order gets out of the door and packaged ready to deliver is 60 seconds. And accordingly, that leaves a long time for us to get the order to customers and navigate traffic and navigate all of those challenges as well to get the customer's doorstep in under 20 minutes. So it's just a matter of
Are you renting these warehouses? Are you buying the warehouses?
no, no. I wish if we had the capital, we'd definitely buy them, but currently we're renting them.
Okay.
Still early days, my friend. Baby steps.
Uh, Talk to me about the workers, riders, logistic, people who are delivering the item. Uh, how's the training going? How do they understand, like, we need to do that fast? Uh, what can you share?
So we have a very strong last mile team that come
Okay.
from industry expertise. What they've done is they built a good curriculum for riders onboarding. So when we bring riders on the platform, they spend a day and a half understanding the product, understanding what we do, understanding how to deal with customers, what are the things they can do, what are things they can and cannot do, and they understand our technology and how they get used to it. They meet our support team as well, so they understand how they can get better support on customers. And the third most important thing is we have a lot of on-ground support for them. So we have our area managers always keeping a close tab on them. Every single, as I told you, member of the team has to spend the day either as support or as delivery, so they understand on ground what these guys go through as well. So we always, these are our frontliners. When a customer thinks of Rabbit, they interact with us on two things and a third channel. First thing is the app. Second thing is the delivery representative. And finally, if things don't go as expected, they talk to support. So all of the busy people running around the office today, customers don't know what they're doing. What they understand is the product experience, the delivery experience, and when I don't like things, how support handles the problem. So we pay a lot of attention to those three touch points.
We spoke about the warehouse, we spoke about logistics, supply chain. Supply chain is a big issue that everyone is facing. How are you dealing with supply chain issues?
It's a very, very hard question to answer because not only there's local supply chain issues, there's international supply chain challenges. So for us to be able to manage a business that operates on a fast-moving basis, where we try as much as possible to buy inventory, sell that inventory very quickly so we can quickly replenish. We started on the business trying to do traditionally what traditional retailers do, and we failed miserably because at the pace of how we try to do things is completely different. So what we've done is we've managed to build a very strong tech stack around demand prediction and supply chain management and automation that helps us understand what we should order, when we should order it. And there's a very big army of operators that just make sure that we get that order delivered on time in our stores so customers don't get a challenge despite all of the supply chain challenges. We still have challenges definitely with international imports and stuff like that because of global international supply chain challenges. But we try as much as possible. Anything that we can control, we try to keep it within our grasps. So we are on top of what customers would want and have it in stock in time.
And the reason I'm asking is, and why I'm really interested and fascinated, recently I've been tackling on the idea of starting a e-commerce halal meat selling platform here in the US.
I've met a guy that wants to do that.
And I've been meeting with different warehouses and different meat suppliers, slaughterhouses. The logistics are just super hard. I met
a guy last month or a couple of months ago in Stanford that wanted to build a company that was selling halal imports from the Middle East in the US.
Wow. Okay.
And he was telling me the logistical pain is impossible because there's a lot of Asian companies that does that. So what's either Korean logistics or Korean or Asian food that just have a very strong logistics channel between Asia and the US and builds that specialty store. And he wanted to build that for the Middle Eastern halal cuisine, and it was near impossible, he was telling me. So I feel with you.
Yes, I mean, and my idea was just to get halal meat that's already in here, speak with slaughterhouses, and deliver it on like to retail customers. And logistically, it's hard, and that's why I'm interested to hearing about the challenges Rabbit has, because you're not only doing supply chain, you're doing logistics, you're working with warehouses, you're doing e-commerce, and you have a lot to manage. And when you're succeeding, it's a story that everyone should hear about, and they should learn and come in and check what Rabbit is doing to learn from it and become better in their startups and how to manage all these different items.
You're too kind. I think if you break down Rabbit, so its fundamentals, the way we look at it is it's three different companies that is duct taped together.
Right.
As you said, it's a warehousing company, it's a fully e-commerce and a supply chain company, and it's a last mile logistics company. All three companies have to work together very efficiently. If you do this business okay, you're gonna have a terrible experience. You're gonna lose a ton of money, and you're gonna shut down. You have to run all three companies at optimal uh, or peak performance for you to stand a chance to deliver customer expectation and end up making money to continue to build the company. So it's definitely a hard and challenging business, but not it's not on me or the four co-founders to do that. We have 100 rabbits busy around it. Understand everyone understands better what needs to be done more than we do, and I think most of the things and most of the great things we achieve is not done by a single individual. There's a lot of people that
Right.
collaborate and they make things happen.
I want to touch about one last thing before I go to my last three, four questions. Uh, you mentioned one of the things I hear here from people who use Uber Eats, Instacart, is that sometimes they order something and then they get they don't get a notification that the item is not there. They just get the delivery and then it's a different brand from what they ordered. And then they get pissed. And you mentioned that you have live data tracking. Uh, Talk to me about that because like how is that happening? How are you making sure each item is the right item, right brand that's being delivered to a customer?
A very good question. So first, as I told you, we have that live inventory tracking piece that just we're able at any second to understand exactly what's the availability on our shelves in every single micro fulfillment center of each and every brand, product, SKU, size, flavor, color, everything. So that's the first piece of fundamental technology that I thought would be a no-brainer when it comes to traditional offline retailers. And what Smail told me is it's not there's no need for that. There's no business that requires that level of sophistication because most of the shopping is done in store. So customer they don't need to know exactly what's available. They need to know a rough number of what's available on shelf so they're able to reorder again. So that basic fundamental piece of technology did not exist and we had to build that. On top of that, we have a lot of automation when it comes to picking, packing, and gate checks of making sure that we know exactly what the customer wants. So not only are we sure that the item is on the shelf, we're 100% sure that this is the exact same item that was picked. We're making sure again that this is the same exact item that is packed. The order is fully sealed, so when it reaches the customer, we know what happens. And if for any chance there was an issue when it comes to that, we do have VAR within the store, so we go back to VAR and we check what went bad and how we can make things better. So we do a lot of investigations there for the fringe cases when something bizarre happens, so we're able to understand what went wrong, how can we make it happen, and how we can make it better so it doesn't happen again.
Okay. I think we spoke a lot about Rabbit. One last thing. Where are you at? Are you at Rabbit 2.0 or Rabbit 1.0 or Rabbit 3.0?
We've concluded Rabbit 1.0. We're
Okay.
currently on track to conclude Rabbit 2.0, which we think Rabbit 1.0 is basically we defined how customers' expectation would come when it comes to shopping. We were the first in the region to deliver 20 minutes. We were the first to promise it. We're not the only ones promising it now, but we are very proud to have the most number of fulfillments under 20 minutes in our market. So that's one. Our Rabbit 2.0 is redefining customers' expectations and how user experience would go because we're introducing new things for customers on how they can enjoy their shopping experience. So first was expectation, second is more around experience, and the third, Rabbit 3.0, is I think the one that I'm most excited about.
What you what you just said, I was reading a story about the Airbnb founders. The CEO once gathered the whole team and he's like, okay, what does a one-star experience look like? Everyone started mentioning stuff. What does a two-star experience look like? What does a three-star, four-star, five-star? Everyone thought he was gonna be done. And then he's like, okay, now what does a
Six star.
six-star, seven-star? He went up to a 10-star, and then he's like, this is what we need to achieve. A 10-star customer experience. And I think you writing a post and mentioning about 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and then 4.0 and 5.0 and 6.0 could come. And just listening between the comparison of this and that, uh, again, I'm just giving similarities. And And the reason I give similarities between startups in the region and outside of the region is because I want to show people that we have great startups in the region. I want to tell investors you could come, even foreign investors, you could come and invest in the region because we have similar mindsets and we have similar talents that we could achieve similar and better experience to customers in terms of startups built all around the region, not just in Egypt, UAE, KSA, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman. Each country in the region has talents that could be really beneficial.
Wallah, you're too kind. Thank you.
Uh, are you profitable?
Very, very close.
Okay.
Very achingly close.
What would take you to get there?
Any day, literally, we're very, very close to gross profit positive. We're itching away at it every.
And the reason I'm asking you, you said in one of your writings or one of your interviews, faster delivery costs less. So is it as you get faster, you get there sooner?
No, I think I think there is a inverse bell curve. So there's a when you look at cost per delivery and you look at cost of operation, there's a very inverse bell curve. So at very fast delivery, it's very cheap. At moderate speed, it's very expensive. At slow speed, it's very efficient. So there's this managing this bell curve. So if you do things very quickly and very efficiently, it's extremely cheap.
Okay.
If you do them at a moderate speed, you don't get the elements of cost savings for a short experience, and you don't get the benefits of batching of a longer experience. So I think this is what most people find it very hard to wrap their head around because people expect that slower is cheaper, and it's true. But there's because if you look at the curve, this is how the curve would look. But there is a different tipping point if you go extremely fast. And I think this is the one thing that we've managed to tap into. And once you wrap your head around it, you start to understand how fast food companies are scaling and how all of these instant retail experiences, how the mom and pop shops are able to deliver on and make money on the quick delivery side.
Right. And what I wanted to say is I used to live in Lebanon before I moved to the US. Uh, and in Lebanon, in terms of fast delivery, or you could pick up the phone. I think it's the same in Egypt. You call the restaurant next door and then they pick it up and then they get it to your house in like 20,
And
30
they
minutes.
make money.
Yes. And then in the US, 5 years ago, they started fast delivery.
They
I'm like,
make money.
uh, and then the US, 5 years ago, they
It's been
started
there
fast
for
delivery. I'm like,
ages.
we've had that. I mean, we've had that for a long time. You just discovered that? You're too late.
We have, in our region, you can get your laundry delivered, your grocery delivered, your pharmacy delivered, your clothes delivered, anything you can think of. I think one of my most favorite stories is in Dubai. You can get during the summer season, there's a company that delivers ice blocks. So you can put in your pool to cool down your pool for you to be able to enjoy that. And
Wow.
everything delivers on a phone call. So the delivery model makes sense and it is economically viable if you manage it in the right way. And that it has existed for decades in our region and will continue to exist for decades to go.
Um, I have my last three questions. Ahmed, as a CEO, running, and you said you're running three different companies. Uh, what are challenges you face as a CEO day to day?
Uh, Very good question. There are personal challenges and there are business challenges. On the business challenges, my job is to make sure everybody is performing to their utmost potential. We have extremely clear purpose, extremely clear vision and direction on where we need to go. And we have as fewer stumbling blocks and challenges to get that done. It's not my job to do the job. It's my job to make everybody else deliver at their optimum capacity and their optimum expectations. So that's on the business side. So this is extremely hard, and specifically as we continue to grow across different, we're solving and we're answering questions that were never asked before. So this is the biggest challenge. On the personal side is mental health, my friend. Oh dear Lord, mental health and trying to continue to navigate the stress, the anxiety, the pressure, because not always do I have the answer, but I need to make sure that collectively we find the answer. So
Right.
these are the kind of things I work with and deal with every single day.
Okay. But if you weren't building Rabbit, just for a second, forget you're building Rabbit, what would you be building?
Uh, Very good question. I have no idea. I've always been fascinated by uh, underbanking.
Okay.
I always think that banks are incumbents, they're lazy, and they don't provide customers with the transparency required and the level of autonomy and uh, not only autonomy, the level of information that they need. So
Okay.
currently in developed markets with open banking, with digital banks, you're able to understand very clearly where are you spending your money, how you're spending your money, and make informed decisions based on informed data points and how you can make better on your assets. I don't think this is something that is as top of mind for current incumbent banking institutions. And I think it's one of those monoliths that we need to tear down and provide customers with a great customer experience. Competition just improves the market altogether.
Right. And I think I'm really interested in fintech. I mean, my first 5 episodes on the podcast were with fintech founders. I'm like, how many more fintech founders could there be in the region? And I guess it's
I think there's
unlimited.
I think there's a lot of potential because there is a lot of different challenges you're trying to solve from how to better save, how to better spend, how to better invest, and how to better get access to capital, how to better borrow. There's a lot of very different challenges, and I think the answer to that is to have a lot of smart people build all of these different things, and then as the market matures, they should come together and merge and become even bigger and bigger stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm excited about that, and we need more and more. And there's a lot of very different non-traditional banking. If you think about blockchain and crypto and all of these digital assets, there's a lot of the future is definitely exciting.
Yeah. No, it is. Especially, I mean, with different devaluations, currency devaluations each country has. I mean, I'm from Lebanon. We had a huge currency devaluation. Egypt has passed through that in 2016 or 2010 first, and now recently, um, Turkey, like most of the countries in the region have went through that. I think having a better banking system, more efficient, more customer friendly, will help a lot in having people trust uh, banking systems again.
And international remittances, my friend, international
Yes,
remittances are a pain.
yes,
So yeah, understand this. I think there are more Lebanese people living outside of Lebanon than Lebanese people living in Lebanon. So the ability for them to support their families abroad or families at home is very challenging. You sending money back, it shouldn't be as challenging today as it was 10, 20 years ago. It should be as
true.
simple as you open an app and you click a button and the money moves. So I think
True.
there's a lot of opportunity as well when it comes to that.
My last question. Forget you're a founder right now. You're not a founder. You don't know anything about startups. You're an investor. You have a huge fund. You're one of the biggest funds in the region. Which 2 startups or 3 startups would you invest in?
Ooh, that is a very hard question that is going to make a lot of people unhappy with me. Why do you do this, Black Button?
I'll give you a solution. And when I had Karima Hakim on the pod, and what she did, and she works with investing, so what she did, she told me 3 startups she uses and that she likes and that she would invest in. She didn't specify like, oh, I'm giving you a way to think about it.
It's a very, very hard question because there is a lot of very smart people out there solving problems that I think are interesting. Uh,
It's someone that's unknown yet, that it's a startup that's still small, that you believe in the founder. Uh,
there's a lot of those. There's literally a lot of those that I think are interesting. So uh, I really like Thunder.
okay.
I really like the mm, democratization of investment,
Okay.
how they're looking at a product as complex as investing and how they're trying to make it mainstream. And I think they're trying to strike a right balance between making sure mainstream while not making it uh, too silly that
Right.
people end up losing money. So I
Right.
think this is one of the companies that I love investing in. What other company? You're making there's like a 17 list of companies that have popped up, and I'm trying to rank them in my head.
That's fine, Thomas. I'll give you a break, and one would be enough.
Let's go with Thunder then.
Okay. Ahmed, I was fascinated at the beginning, and after this hour, I'm more fascinated.
Thank you.
I wish you and Rabbit all the luck. Uh,
Thank you.
do you have any plugins? Are you hiring? Where could people know more about Rabbit? Feel free to do so.
Yes. We're launching our second market. We're hiring in our headquarters here in Egypt. So you can find all of the jobs postings on our website, rabbitmore.com. And people can always reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll try to help as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. It was a pleasure having you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for choosing me.